Dan Cohen, very happy to have you in the Flawless Growth podcast. How are you today?
I'm a delightful day, Maria. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Okay, so let's start with this. I would love to hear a little bit more about the story behind Adhere. What inspired its creation, and how did PaintScript evolve into what it is today?
I appreciate that, Maria. A number of years ago, some physicians got together and were trying to figure out a solution to one of the biggest problems that vexes healthcare today, which is care plan adherence and medication compliance. The short answer to the long question is that chronic patients under treatment, the, the farther along they get in their therapy, the less compliant they are with what will make them recover better or more fully. It's a huge cost to the system. Last year, it was estimated to cost close to 600 billion. That's with a B, dollars in lost opportunities, lost revenue, poor results across the system, across everything. And those physicians got together and did some clinical research on what would make patients more compliant with their therapy, what things they could do. I joined the company in 2019, before it was a company, and took a look at that data and saw opportunities with it. And what we have done over the past 5 or 6 years is taken that clinical data, turned it into an idea, turned the idea into a product, and brought the product to the market. We're commercial, working in chronic care, helping physicians' practices have their patients become more compliant with their care plans, more adherent with their medication regimens. We focus currently on pain management, but we also are involved in behavioral health, physical therapy, obesity issues, and the like. And physicians who use our platform also have the opportunity to get paid through AMA CPT codes that are designed for remote therapeutic monitoring, which compensates the physician for their work. Everything we're doing is about two issues. One, it's what happens in between your meeting with your physician. Typically, you have a 10-minute section where you have a meeting with your physician. 10 minutes is what you get no matter what you're being treated for. And you may not see your physician, depending on what you're being treated for another 30, 60, 90 days or even longer. And things are happening with you. And unless it becomes very acute, your physician doesn't know what's happening until you come back in. Our physicians talk to their patients through our platform every single day. It's a very short interaction, 20, 30 seconds. They're asked 3 clinical questions. The questions change every day. And those questions give physicians insight and early warning to what's happening with you. And if for chronic patients with a chronic disease that they're going to be under treatment for months and years, not days and weeks, this is a very important adjunct to their care. Every doctor learns in their first 2 weeks of medical school, the more often you touch a patient, the better the outcome is going to be. Our doctors touch their patients every single day, and they're getting better outcomes using our platform.
Love it. I think um, there's a huge opportunity in the medical industry, especially in the United States, with a lot of people that I've been talking to in this podcast. A lot of them have complaints about the medical system. And it's very interesting as this is one of the biggest, like more affluent countries in the world, and that the medical system is not working as it should be and kind of like failing a lot to its patients. It's very interesting that that's happening, but also we have to see it as an opportunity, and solutions like yours are wonderful, and I really hope that companies like yours keep changing and improving everything that needs to be improving in regards of this, because isn't health the most important thing? for everybody.
Well, without question, health. If you don't have your health, you're certainly be challenged to do anything else. And while there are frustrations and challenges and even problems with our healthcare system, I've been globally involved in healthcare for years now, and we still have an extremely well functioning, innovative system. If you need treatment for a disease or condition that is well known and well defined, there are many places in the world where you can get very good treatment. But if your treatment requires unique thought, unique treatment plans, because it's trying to come up with new therapies, such as gene therapies in oncology, for example, I wouldn't want to be any other place than here, because innovation is really the focal point of the U.S. healthcare system. It stands up well against any healthcare system in the world, despite some of the arguments among politicians, both internecine in Congress and between countries around the world.
I think maybe one of the issues could be also the economic part of it. So you find the best solution for sure, but it's gonna cost a lot.
Well, I, we probably don't want to spend this podcast talking about the payment structures between countries. But before I was with this country, I was involved in drug and device development work and brought several products to the market, both in the U.S. as well as international markets over time. And systems are changing, but what was the case was that the development costs would be spent in the U.S. and the U.S. Patient would end up paying a higher fee for the new developments, with lower costs going overseas, primarily due to economics. And that's going to start equalizing to some extent. The change in payment structure from fee for service to defined care plans means that foreign, outside of the U.S., customers are going to end up paying more for their health care relative to what they have paid in the past, and domestic patients are going to be paying somewhat less than they have in the past, again, on a relative basis, because healthcare costs are rising across the board. Why are they rising? A lot of reasons, but there are some positive reasons, because we're developing new therapies that are extending life and giving people opportunity. I mean, it's important to think about the miracle of the healthcare system. If you go back when we were living in caves as a species, I mean, tens of thousands of years ago, by the age of 30, 50% of everyone ever born had died. By 1840, less than 200 years ago, that number had changed to 35 years of age, when half the people ever born had passed away before modern medicine began. And keep in mind, those people had free range food and natural diets. There was no worried about all the modern things in the food system. But what we have today is people living into their 70s and 80s rather easily with high quality of life. And that change was medicine. It was vaccines. It was treatment. It was recognition of bacteria. And all of these innovations in less than 200 years has dwarfed the previous 40,000 years. It's an amazing accomplishment.
That is true. I think we always have to remember how things used to be. It's very easy to just think about right now and identify all of the issues and what we would want to be better, but definitely like think of how things have evolved and where we are right now. Agreed with that. And so you mentioned that at the beginning that one of the issues is that patients maybe only see their doctor for 10 minutes, and then they don't see him for 30, 60, 90 days after. That's one of the issues that you guys solve. Is there any other issue that you have identified in regards of patients not following through with their treatments?
Well, that in of itself becomes part of the problem. The payment structure now, as we moved away from fee for service,
Mm-hmm.
physicians are not what we remember doctors being. I'm not saying that it's good or bad. It's now different, and that difference means they have to see more patients over the course of the day. They don't make the living that they once did, and so it's a changing world. And young doctors no longer want to work 24 and 36-hour shifts. They'd like to work 9 to 5. Uh, that's also not sustainable. So there's a lot of change taking place. For the patient, the physician can actually do a very adequate job in most cases in that short meeting. And if the patient requires more, physicians do give it more, but they triage. But that average 10-minute meeting needs to be efficient. And so we make it more efficient with our platform. Patients need to follow through when they're not in front of their physician. So in the 30 days between appointments, or 60 or 90 or whatever it is, if the patients are compliant with the therapy, they will have a better outcome than patients that are non-compliant. If the physician is able to review updates and alerts related to decompensation, for example, even though you're my patient and I saw you 3 weeks ago and I may not plan to see you for another 2 months, if I get indication that you're having issues, I can call you up and say, Maria, I see from your answers here, you're having a side effect, you're a problem. I know we're not supposed to see each other until January, but I'd like you to try and come in the next couple of days. Let me put my assistant Jim on the phone and he'll schedule an appointment. That's better medicine because we're focusing on what makes it more effective. And in our platform, our primary focus right now is pain management. Pain management is a very important issue. We're dealing with scheduled substances in many cases, as well as interventional treatments. But for patients with scheduled substances, to be able to get their script every 30 days, they need to be in front of their physician every 30 days. That's by statute. And so we help manage that process so that the regulatory agencies, not just the FDA, which looks at the medical side, but the DEA, which looks at the drug distribution side, all have confidence that the physicians are working to their best of medical care and not providing issues that are part of the whole dialogue right now in the streets. And we have very good success there in solving for those problems, where the DEA is looking at our platform along with the FDA and believe it is a very powerful tool to help patient treatment.
Wonderful. And how has your vision for Adhere changed since its early days?
I think any entrepreneur that you talk to, their vision from the beginning to every stage of their development has to change. We've learned a lot on this journey. We expect to learn a great deal more. We've made assumptions that once tested in the field turn into sometimes mistakes, sometimes misapprehensions. But the core concept that we have continues to follow through. We've become better at meeting the needs of the physician, meeting the needs of the physician's staff who have to manage the program, and meeting the needs of the patients that are being treated, as well as payers downstream and others that are involved. And it seems like every morning we have a challenge, and at the end of the day, we've solved it. And lo and behold, tomorrow, a new set of challenges come up. That's the world of entrepreneurship. And what's given me a lot of confidence is our customers right now are clearly very happy with the service that we're providing. Their practices are doing better. Their patients are doing better. We are not a treatment, But what we are is a system that gives them actionable information. We're not trying to replace the physician.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to make the physician more effective and make the patient a better. They get closer to their optimum treatment level that the physician's providing.
It's about access, right? And finding a solution in a quicker way. For example, I would love this solution. I have a doctor who thankfully, like, he gave me his phone number so I could text him whenever like anything was happening, and that's such a big difference compared to when I have to do an appointment and all of that. It's just like if it's just like my dermatologist. So, for example, if there's a cream that is not working or that it's out of stock for a lot of months, I just text her and she replaces it very quickly, and it saves everybody a lot of time as well.
Yeah, and what you're describing are aspects of concierge medicine, and that's in effect what we provide without the cost.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, concierge medicine is very expensive
Right.
in most places, but we create that service because if the physician can do the medical part in the 10 minutes, and again, they can in those instances, it's the follow up in between. Well, if they're getting that bridge in between, that really means that the 10 minutes is more like 30 or 40 minutes a month in actual time. But it's at a glance for the doctor every day. And if you're doing fine, no issues, no problem. If there's a red flag, and our platforms are triage so they can see red flags, there's something that they can investigate. We don't tell the doctor what to do. We're not practicing for them.
Mm-hmm.
But they've set the parameters, and if the patient is outside the parameters, they get to see that, and then they get to use their judgment and make a decision as to whether an intervention of some sort is required. An intervention could be coming in the office, it could be a phone call, it could be a text, it could be something that they just watch for a few days. But it allows them to practice medicine the way they would like to practice medicine.
Yeah, I love it. Dan, what role do AI or data-driven system play right now in personalizing the care pathway that you provide?
I'm glad you asked that. AI is very important to us. We're in an active development for it. Those clinical questions that we have are developed by physicians around the country. And we change the questions every day. There's normative ranges in the background, and all of that is designed to increase compliance as well as communicate important information. We started with machine learning, of course, so it's a very linear approach. But with AI, we're developing it so that your answers today help determine what questions you'll get tomorrow. It starts to pick up on certain attributes of your question and start focusing more on issues that you're raising while still maintaining a base look at everything around you. AI will make us more effective with that. We are starting to implement pieces of it, but it's going to take the better part of the next year, we believe, to have a fully integrated AI structure. We do use AI. We in a standard machine learning aspect, our platform is available in Spanish because some of our physicians obviously are in heavy Spanish areas, and if someone's responding in native language, it's better acuity. The same physician has a significant Mandarin population. I've been able to use AI to recreate our question protocols in Mandarin for the patients, so I'm getting it at a low cost. I was able to get a Mandarin speaker to validate everything to make sure that it wasn't a AI dream, but was actually done properly, because I don't read Mandarin at all. But that's making us more effective. So AI is a fascinating tool for me, certainly someone of my generation, and I think there are limitless possibilities.
100%. I think another big opportunity with AI in a solution like yours would be to find a way to create reminders both for the physician and the user, as a lot of the times treatments, sometimes we just forget to get to, like, to take a pill, right? Or we forget that today we had to check in, or something. So using technology to help that reminder, like we cannot keep everything in our brains, unfortunately, would help us a lot.
Well, you're absolutely correct in the sense that we've built our platform on the whole idea is we don't want anyone, physician or patient, to remember to do anything. We reach out to them every day. This is not a portal. The patient doesn't have to remember to log in and answer their questions. We go out to the patient, we go out to them where they are, and we'll go out several times a day because sometimes the patient sleeps in or has a meeting or is in the shower and we don't want to miss the opportunity. So in a machine learning mode, we've been able to do that with a high degree of success, but we think we'll get better with AI because we'll start to know, or AI will start to know more about Maria Gomez as a patient, and we'll be able to not only craft questions, but craft outreach. We have medication reminders on our platform that are available, but they're very static reminders. You know, you can set one up for as much as you would think is necessary. But through AI, if we get to know you and your habits, we'll have a more effective reminder that goes out beyond what we do now, which is fairly effective. But you can always be better, and AI is going to make the industry better.
Yes, 100%. I am super excited about all of that, the technology helping us improve our lives. Okay, then healthcare technology can be sometimes complex, right? What were the main challenges that you faced early on, or that right now still face, related to um, technical things or regulatory challenges within the industry?
Well, the biggest challenge with technology is not the direction you're going to go or what you want to do. It's that every time you go somewhere or do something, you reveal unintended consequences of your action. And I think that's the nature of technology development. It's never straightforward in and of itself, and you learn a lot about how, in our case, patients, physicians, payers react to our product, and they all have recommendations to improve it. And the recommendations, for the most part, are by and large are good and make us more effective. But that takes time, and the technology process itself, as many people, we were fortunate we were not one of them, but yesterday the AWS crisis shut down computers across most of the country. And it was just a technology error. It clearly wasn't anything more than a mistake. I'm not a tech person enough to know what mistake means, because it seems simple to find, simple to fix, but for 15 hours, many systems around the country were shut down. And so that's an interesting part of it as well. Regulatory is not as relevant to us, where we don't have to perform as a medical device because we're not diagnosing any condition or making recommendations for treatment. But we do work in a very HIPAA-compliant atmosphere. We have patient data, and we have to protect it. We do it to the best of our ability with the highest technology available. But we always want to make sure we're staying. You can't get ahead of the game, if you will, but get as secure as we possibly can, and we do. That's one of our major spends. In fact, our most important spend is to protect the data that we have. I'm confident that no one has a stronger system for companies like us out there, because we don't take any shortcuts with that.
Wonderful, wonderful to hear that you are being so secure and disciplined with data that is so important for people, like about their health. Can you Can you share with us maybe a success story? Of course, without revealing very specific details, but a success story of a patient that you remember or that really made an impact for you.
Well, this just occurred a few days ago. I was talking with one of my physicians who I call him a power user. He's in the platform all the time, monitoring patient data that he's provided because he really sees it as a value add to his practice. And one of the things that we provide is after patients answer their 3 questions daily, they're able to send a direct message to their physician if they want. In this particular, and sometimes it's I want to change my appointment. When's my next appointment? Refill the prescription, but sometimes it's clinical, and in this case, it was. The patient said, I don't want to bother anyone, but I'm having trouble closing my mouth and I'm drooling a little bit. Should I come in and see you in the next couple of days? Well, the, you know, the patient didn't recognize that they were having a stroke.
Oh, wow.
And the physician was, got on the phone and said, "I've already ordered an ambulance to your house. You're actively having a stroke, and we need to get you help." They got the patient to the hospital, and he was able to recover because of the quick action of the doctor, and was using our platform to get that information. And it kind of gives you chills that everything worked exactly the way you hoped it might. If the patient provided actionable information, the physician was able to act on it, and it provided a better outcome than what would have been the case had we not been there. And we have anecdotal stories very similar of other things that go along that line.
Wow.
But, I said that was just in the last few days, and that the doctor called me up to tell me the story. So
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
That's a wonderful story. That's what the moments that you say, okay, what I'm doing, it's 100% worth it, and it makes a huge difference.
It does.
Yeah, that is wonderful. Okay, now Dan, as a startup founder, what have been the main lessons that you've learned throughout starting with a startup and building a team?
I think the most important lesson that any founder learns in their company is that you have to be open to change. You have to be persistent. When I say open to change, you have to change what I thought this morning is going to change by the end of the day, end of the week, end of the month. Um, uh, Persistent, you have to have a direction, but you have to be flexible. What I mean by that, if you don't know where you're going, any road will do. My staff hears me say that all the time. So we need to know where we want to go, what we want to accomplish, but we have to be flexible about how we get there. We have to listen to the learnings. We have to listen to our customers. We have to listen to our patients, and really understand how we can make the platform both work for them or explain to them why their idea doesn't work, if you will. But that requires persistence. There are going to be ups and downs on the journey. I'll let you know when the ups and downs stop, if they ever do. And so sometimes things work extremely well, and sometimes things are extremely challenging. And that's what makes it interesting, that even at my stage of my career, that I'm still excited to get up and do this every day.
Oh, that's wonderful. And yes, it's so you have to think that it's a roller coaster, and you decided to go into it. So don't be
Yeah.
upset when there's a a high. Don't be as upset when there's a low.
Right. Oh, never get upset by it. And a lot of Zoom calls, a lot of meetings, one just before you, one coming up in a couple of minutes. So it's always a challenge.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, then last couple of questions. What have been your main avenues for growth? Is it a lot of mouth, like mouth to mouth? Is it a lot of digital marketing? Is it a lot of just maybe going to conferences, or is it just a mix of everything?
It's all of the above, of course. Word of mouth is important because this is a physician community.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, when I deal with medical management of pain, I've been involved in medical management of pain for 26 years now, in developing abuse deterrent tamper resistant opioids and being part of the opioid crisis.
Mm-hmm.
So I know a significant number of the physicians in the field, and have had relationships with them as we use their expertise to develop drugs, be part of policy. I've spent an enormous amount of time in Congress and at FDA in the policy development, and using those relationships, I'm able to come back to them and say, "Here's a solution for your practice," and that, and uh, not only will they take it for their practice, but they will recommend some of their friends and colleagues around the country, and so that helps us build businesses. As I mentioned to you before we went live, I was at a medical conference this past weekend, pain management nursing, who are a very important component of pain practices. Speaking to them, I'll be speaking to the Vegas Nerve Society, not Las Vegas, but Vagal Nerve, this coming week as we expand our footprint. So it's a combination of everything, but you know, because it's healthcare, there are specialists out there that have relationships with these practices, and we hire the affiliates or internal as salespeople to go out and explain what we can offer, and it's a very standard model in healthcare.
Wonderful. Okay. And in regards to, for example, spreading your word digitally, I know that the medical industry sometimes has a lot of um, it's highly regulated, right? Have you had
Yep.
any challenges with that, like trying to do something digitally and you couldn't because there was a lot of regulatory issues?
Uh, no, I haven't had regulatory challenges, and for I think two primary reasons. One, I've been in the field mostly on the regulatory side, so I understand what the rules are, and I don't believe in crossing bright lines. There are reasons the rules are in place, and if the FDA in particular has significant authority that can make your life extremely difficult if you try and shortcut the rules. So we follow regulatory guidelines. My board chairman is a former associate commissioner of the FDA as well, Peter Pitts. He was responsible when he was associate commissioner under Commissioner Mark McClellan 20 years ago for communication policy and the development of telehealth, the early days of telehealth and telemedicine. That's why I have him on the board to help make sure that we don't cross any bright lines and we can communicate regularly with the regulatory agencies, because regulatory agencies aren't a roadblock. If you use them the way they're meant to be used, they are your advocate.
Yes.
They want good outcomes. They want good products. They have standards. Can it be frustrating? Of course. I want to be able to say, I've got this brilliant product. Just say yes. And they say, we'd love to say yes, but you got to prove it. So there's a creative tension there that I think is very valuable and important. Could there be improvements? Of course. But I'm sure they wish that I would do some things differently too. But the good thing is we can work together and we talk well together, and it's a very important part of the process.
That is a very good mindset to have around it, because
I think it's the only reasonable one to have.
exactly, because yes, a lot of people is just, oh, this is just so frustrating, right? But
Right.
definitely thinking like, wait, they're not just doing this to make my life difficult. They're doing it because it's important and to um, be able to maybe avoid some worst scenarios, right? So
Yep.
seeing it from there, it's amazing. Okay, and in regards to growth, what would you say has been your biggest challenge?
Biggest challenge is resources.
Mm.
Raising money, whether it's equity financing or debt financing, always remains challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Raising money is kind of like hiring a fishing boat captain to go out fishing. The captain always says, "You should have been here yesterday." Um, so with enough resources, you're able to scale the way you want to.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think you'll find any entrepreneur out here that says anything different. That their biggest challenge is finding the resources and convincing the investors to
Mm-hmm.
provide you enough funds to do it right. That being said, when you put everything together, it can really come together very nicely. And I'm hopeful we're on the verge of that too.
Wonderful. And I wish you a lot of success with that. I hope everything comes your way. Okay, Dan.
And and I thank you for all of your time today. I've really enjoyed speaking with you.
Absolutely, me too. One last thing. Where can people find more about you or about Adhere?
Certainly at adhereplus.com, you can find information about the company, and you can write me at DLC, David Larry Charles, at adhereplus.com, and I'd be happy to provide them with information, particularly if they're a physician with chronic care patients and they would like our support to help build their practice.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dan. It was amazing to have you on.
Thank you, Maria. Bye bye.
Bye bye.